Welcome to Reflections, a program where we discuss values and virtues for the transformation of the individual and the society in general. I am Father George Ehusani, and I have with me in the studio today my friend, Professor Oshita, former Director General, Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution. And we are here to discuss peace and how to avoid conflict. He is an expert in that area. Prof, you're welcome.
Thank you, Father, for having me.
Now, since you left the National Institute, since you left the Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution, I see that you have been doing a lot of things, including setting up an Ubuntu Center.
Yes, yes.
Tell us about it.
Oh, well, thank you, Father, for having me. Since I left office as DG, Institute for Peace and Conflict Resolution, I have remained committed to the issues of peace in this country. And, you know, as an individual, you have to start at the grassroots to try to build it, you know, from down to up. So I had to establish Ubuntu Center for Africa Peace Building and Development, an NGO, which has its offices in Abuja, Ogoja, and Calabar. The last two both in Cross River State, where I come from.
Yes, yes.
So, and we have gone to the extent Ubuntu Center for Africa Peace Building and Development also has a radio, a community radio in Ogoja, in order to galvanize the population and you know, ensure that there's peace. As you probably are aware, Ogoja is at a triangle where a lot of conflicts happen.
Well, I mean, you come from a place where every street is a different language, right?
Oh, well,
Ogoja,
yeah,
every street happens to be a different language.
Yeah, so
diversity.
It is often said, so we are the heart of diversity. But in addition to that, Ogoja is situated where you have, on the one side, you have Ebonyi as neighbors.
Yes.
You have Benue as neighbors. And at the extreme end, towards the ranch, you have Taraba State somewhere there. You probably know that these neighbors are also conflict-ridden. And that's why we thought that the Ubuntu Center should have...
I mean, of course, charity begins at home. After serving the nation on that level for a long time, and even the international community, that you go back home to establish such a center, I think is a very commendable thing.
Thank you for the compliment. But that's exactly what I had in mind, that if this country is going to be strengthened in the area of peace and inclusion, accepting one another, we have to all start it from the root, you know, and build up so that people will know that we are all the same people.
Talking about accepting one another, sometimes I feel very uncomfortable when we discuss about, it's literally about teaching our people about accepting one another, because I grew up in this country recognizing that we accept one another. Something all of a sudden happened in this country. I mean, our people, Nigerians, accept one another.
That's true.
So the issue of inter-ethnic, inter-religious conflicts in this country is contrived more by the leadership than something organic. Because, I mean, as I grew up, I went to school with people of different tribes, and looking back now, we as children never saw any difference.
Absolutely, absolutely.
We accepted one another.
Yeah.
And then, all of a sudden, scarce resources, and on account of scarce resources, or I would say bad leadership, then people are now saying the ancestors of this person are not from this village. This person, it is his grandfather that came here. Before his grandfather, they were not here. They begin to pick on differences that didn't matter before.
No, I agree with you, Father, because we all went to school when we had people from different areas, and we never saw the kind of
identity issues.
Identity, you know, deploying identities as a platform for getting what we want, because we also ourselves as the same people. But you know, that's where leadership comes in. What is the tone that our leaders are setting for us? They set the tone that makes us think that we are different so that they will benefit.
Good. Thank you. And you are the best person to discuss this thing with, because what I really want us to discuss is leadership and peace building. Leadership and conflict management. Yeah. The responsibility, you know, I never tire to speak about if a people are going to have peace, you need to have leaders of vision. The Bible says, the book of Proverbs says, when the wicked rule, the people groan. But when the righteous are in authority, the people rejoice. Absolutely. Proverbs chapter 29, verse 2. So, the responsibility that leaders have for what happened, for the fortunes of the people, they are enormous.
Absolutely.
And I'm not sure that whether those who desire leadership in this country or people who vote certain characters into leadership, I'm not sure that they are really aware of what an enormous burden it is to get into leadership positions, to be voted into leadership positions, and how the character of the leader affects what happens, how the vision or lack of vision of the leader affects the fortunes of the people. I don't think people are really aware of it.
Yeah, you're very correct. You see, it depends on the definition of leadership in our own environment. You know that, you and I know that the definition of leadership in this country is not about responsibility to serve, to give people the best. It is about opportunity for you yourself and the people you call your own, based on this same identity, criteria that we talked about. So if we define leadership in that way, then nobody gets into leadership to want to do the best and better the population that he is leading.
Not long ago, I wrote a paper for delivery in my hometown. They were talking about restructuring. And I say, I am looking forward to a time when retired vice chancellors, retired inspector generals of police, retired chief medical director in a hospital, retired corporate manager, chief executive of or deputy general manager of Shell or whatever, when they will return to the village in their 60s and early 70s and take on positions as counselor for education, counselor for health, counselor for works, counselor for whatever, because one, they have experience, they have traveled and they have seen how places are organized. They don't need, hopefully they don't need the kobo that the local government gets.
So it's no longer kobo, as you know.
Well, they don't need, because if you retire as deputy manager of Shell or Mobil, you are settled for life, really. Yeah. If you retire, if our educational system were good, if you retire as vice chancellor, if you retire as a professor of peace studies or whatever, you should be taken care of, so that you don't need to put your hand in the till in the council, in the local government council that you are working in. My dream was that the kind of people who are in our villages and who are running affairs today, I don't think they can help us move forward. Many of them.
Well, you have a point there, but how many of those kind of people you just mentioned, big people who have held, and that in the Nigerian sense, you would say, oh, they are made for life. How many of them have connection
with the village,
with their roots, with the village? And how many of them will, in spite of what you think about them, that they must have enough, will be able to control their greed? Because
their own greed.
Yes, greed knows no limit. That is what you must know. And so you may find somebody and think, oh, he's above this kind of thing. Especially now that the local governments have been given autonomy and they will have all their resources. I mean, a greedy person does not know the limits.
Are you suggesting, Prof, that somebody who has held position as a minister in this country for 4 years or 8 years,
yes,
that he retires to the village and becomes, let's say, councillor for works, that you think that he will be so sick as to begin to embezzle the small change that the local government has to repair roads and repair and provide water?
If I know the psychology of leaders in this country from what we have seen, I think that you don't underrate them in terms of what evil they can still do at that level, to the extent of tampering with, to the extent of not being accountable.
Wow.
That's my thinking, because what you find is that we do not even respect accountability. We do not respect transparency, to the extent that those who mischievously make their resources and make their money, they are given chieftaincy titles in the villages. You understand? So somebody you think has been made from previous positions, who goes to that level, well, first of all, many will not think of that because it's going to unduly expose them. Many will not think of that. That's my thinking.
Well, which is sad. You know what happened with Lee Kuan Yew? Lee Kuan Yew, after having been Prime Minister of Singapore for many years, I think 20 something years.
Yes.
Now he retired. He left as Prime Minister and became local government chairman.
Good.
Brought all his exposure, all his vision, or whatever, to develop his area, the area of Singapore where he is from.
Yeah.
And you have many people like that. There are examples here and there, and those are some of the most developed places in the world where you take your exposure, your global exposure, your national exposure. You now retire to a much smaller place, but you use all your connections to help develop the place. So when would our people know how to give back? That's the expression.
Okay, that's fine. Giving back, some people are trying to do that, but the example you gave of Lee Kuan Yew in Singapore made sure that the laws were the supreme, the laws worked.
Rule of law.
Yes, apart from rule of law, the fact that Lee Kuan Yew make sure that there is nothing you will do. There's a specific example I will have used of how one of his friends, went on the wrong side of the law and thought that he would be there for him, but he allowed the laws to take.
Yeah,
Can you tell me that in this country the laws work? The laws don't work. Where the laws don't work, it's an animal farm.
Jungle.
So until the kind of things that we have with the judiciary and the kinds of pleas that people make, going to the court. So as long as our laws do not work, it is difficult for anybody, because those who are on the side of the law are those who suffer in this country.
Which is sad.
Absolutely. And it means thumbs up for those who go against the law.
It means
because they know how to navigate.
All of us must take that seriously.
Absolutely.
We must take that seriously and work against it. That it is those who are on the side of the law that suffer.
Absolutely.
And criminal gangs who violate the law can always find their way around.
Yeah, that's why you have the saying, go to court. Well, I mean, in this country today, people say go to court. And when they say go to court, they are ready.
And those and lawyers in this country, jurists in this country must take that seriously. By the time it becomes a laughing stock to say go to court, the sacred presence of the of the temples of justice. If people are now talking carelessly and scornfully about go to court, then everybody at every level of the judiciary should take it seriously.
Well, I mean, that is the fact you're saying. That is the truth.
Yeah. Because we cannot continue to we cannot run a country like you said. The difference between a society where there's law and a society where there's no law, it means one is a jungle, one is a human society.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's why you see chaos in most of the things. You know, do you, Father? The thing that gives me real headache is when I see even the way we drive. If you go to any country, first of all, see when you move on the road, see how people respect, road signs,
traffic regulations.
Yeah, other road signs apart from traffic, and then you see traffic. You know, I get really frightened when I'm driving on the road or when I'm on the road, where you see that there is red light and then somebody is behind you hooting seriously,
or comes
and then passes and as if you are the one. So you are the one who is doing the right thing, you are the one seen as...
One of the elements of road discipline, highway discipline that I first learned when I got to the US in 1988. I discovered that I got to the junction first, but that the law obliged me to wait before I move. No car is coming in any direction.
Yes.
But if you just pass,
you get a ticket.
No traffic light, oh.
Yes.
But you got to a T junction.
Yes.
You are bound to wait.
Yes.
Look left, look right before you move. Yes. If you don't wait and you just move, you get a ticket.
Yes.
And everybody obeys it. Yes. Including the rough driver Nigerian that goes there. Yes. They obey it.
Absolutely. Because there are consequences. But here, no consequences.
Who is to ensure that there are consequences?
That's where the presence of government becomes very important. So we have minimal governance, we have minimal government.
Minimal governance, minimal governance.
Absolutely.
You see, now maybe I can see that me and you are agreed on this point. I have spoken in several places. And they say, oh, Nigerian leaders are terrible, Nigerian people are terrible. And I say, what will make Nigerian people law-abiding? They say, if they are obeying laws. But who is to make the people obey laws? It's not the truck pusher now.
No.
If the truck pusher has his way, he will violate the law.
Absolutely.
The person to make people obey law are the leaders.
That's and why and the leaders must be seen to be obeying laws.
They must show good example.
So that is the point. That is the point. So minimal. We have problematic leadership, and that's where we have to look at. But the laws are supposed to be the leveler.
Correct.
And it must be seen to be happening across board.
That's why Lady Justice is like this.
Absolutely. Yes, fair to all. But where you see that, we used to say that that's the blind goddess you refer to now, yes. Lady Justice, blind goddess. You can see that she is blind. So that symbol is to say that
everyone,
yes, goes against the law. There's nothing that like you have money so you go and negotiate how the law should affect you. No, everybody, and the soul that she's holding is to cut anyone who violates the law. Why should some people be negotiating?
Back to the issue of conflict, and with all your experience in conflict negotiation, conflict management, and so on, I am concerned that if leadership does not play its role, or we have leadership of, leaders of debauchery, irresponsible leaders, greedy leaders, leaders that are ready to sell their people for money, or bring the heads of their people in conflict for their own selfish. Can we ever have peace under this kind of circumstance? Can we have peace? I mean, in recent times, we see what is happening in one of the states in this country. If we have this kind of leaders, how would we ever have peace? Because today you have the Jukun and thief Fulani and Tiv. You say you are from
I'm
Cross
from
River,
Abuja,
yes, area.
yes.
So you can have conflict between Tiv and the people of that area, or between the Jukun and people of that area, or you have between Ebonyi and. But if there is good leadership, they will know how to negotiate with the leaders of the other people.
Yes.
And then calm their people down. Eventually build their people into one people. Because
Absolutely.
the big countries of today, let's say Germany, they used to be fighting barbarians. We are not unique in having many different tribes and whatever. We are not unique.
No, diversity is not only a Nigerian thing. So we must not turn it into an instrument of war. Because every country has some degree of diversity.
Yes.
Yeah, and we are not the most diverse in the world anyway.
No.
Yeah, so with regards to your talking about leadership helping us to stay together, you see, when you ignore the history of how mankind got into, we
building societies.
Building societies, that is the history, the state of nature,
yes,
where we came from, you find out that if there was no, that whether it is historical or ahistorical state of nature where people came together to now say, okay, let's have leadership.
Let's have a social contract.
A sovereign, through a social contract.
Yes.
But when you violate the social contract, then what you have is you have the kind of peace that will be dictated either by the lion or the elephant or the goat. So whichever one takes control of the space,
animal farm.
It is an animal farm scenario. Then it is the peace of that animal that begins to, is no longer the peace of all of us. And so that's what we find in our own environment, that people who are privileged one way or the other try to dictate whatever they call peace to their own terms, to be what they prefer. So if we have that kind of leadership, it is difficult to have the real peace. And what we need is a peace which is inclusive of everyone. It is not according to my terms, not according to your terms, so that everyone will have a stake in what is going on.
So how do we come by getting the kind of leaders that can midwife this kind of society? How do we come by getting those kind of leaders?
Well, I think in Nigeria, we can come by those leaders when we all collectively look at how leadership has manipulated us over time. Because when people need what they want, they rally us and say, for so reason, we are together. They might use ethnicity, they might use religion, they might use all kinds of things, to tell us that for so reason, support me, don't support the other person. But what we want is performance. What we want is, we are all of the same stock, irrespective of our diversity.
Of course.
And of course, coming from the Christian angle, the Bible tells me he created both man and woman.
Yes.
And so, to that extent, and I don't think there's any religion that does not talk about that kind of common origin.
Yes.
So why should we then begin to say, because you are from this ethnic group, because you are from this religion, because you are a man or woman, in fact, even in terms of gender, yes, people try to suppress other human beings just because of their gender. So I think that we need to all think about.
But when you say we need to all, it may never happen that all will come together to agree or something. That is why I think that the elite, social elite, political elite, religious elite, economic elite, we have the greater responsibility, because they say to whom much has been given from him, much is expected.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I do not believe that in this country now, reforms will take us anywhere. These gradual piecemeal reforms will not take us anywhere. Especially against the backdrop that we do not have laws that are really respected. They are rather negotiated. So that's my thinking. So how that is going to happen I can't say myself now, but I'm saying from what I have seen in and out of office, moving around society, I'm highly traveled.
That this piecemeal
reforms
will not,
given the kind of, imagine the kind of elections we do. You can mention any example, it will serve. You understand? So there's something serious that needs to happen if this country is going to move forward.
To put another way, what you are saying now, some people have said that when a house has so many cracks, too many cracks in every area,
it needs that
house needs to be brought down. That house needs to be gradually brought down and then rebuild whatever. Otherwise, it will collapse on all of us. And that's not what we want.
Of course, you know that one of these writers wrote a book that depicted us as a house that has fallen.
Yeah, what is his name now? Hans Meyer.
Yes.
Hans Meyer.
Yes.
This house has fallen.
So some of us, we believe that this house has not fallen. But we must not wait for the house to fall.
To fall or not. Thank you very much. On this note, I will bring this program to an end. I've been speaking with Professor Oshita, former Director General of Institute of Peace and Conflict Resolution, and he has set up, after his term in office, the Ubuntu
Center for Africa Peace Building and Development.
For Africa Peace Building and Development, and he is saying we should not wait. Hans Meyer wrote 25 years ago, this house has fallen. We should not wait for the house to fall, but we can see all the cracks. As we are seeing all the cracks, we better do something radical to ensure that we gradually bring the broken blocks together and rebuild our country for the safety of ourselves and our children and children's children.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you.